Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. Now, with the Gyanvapi Mosque complex row escalating by each passing day, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister has gone on to make a suggestion, and it is primarily for the Muslim side. Yogi Adityanath is of the view that the Muslim petitioners should come forward with a proposal to fix what he has termed as a quote-unquote historical blunder. Remember, these remarks come in days after the Allahabad High Court reserved its verdict till August 3rd on a plea against a district court order directing the Archaeological Survey of India to conduct a survey to determine if the Gyanvapi Mosque in Varanasi was built on a temple. This, although, is the first time Yogi Adityanath has spoken as the state's chief minister. He had, however, made a rather controversial comment as the BJP MP from Gorakhpur back in 2015 on Gyanvapi, when he had said that he will install idols of Gauri Ganesh in every mosque if given a chance. This time around, it was the office of the chief minister holding that aggression back rather. However, he does go on to make a comment on a matter that's sub judice. And that's the claim that the Muslim side is latching on to. The fact is that the Gyanvapi Mosque in Varanasi has been at the center of a protracted dispute involving its historical origins and the rites of worship, and that cannot be kept aside by sweeping statements like the one that's been made today. Shouldn't maintenance of peace and communal harmony be paramount, and preserving that be of utmost importance for the state chief? Let's analyze that this evening.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा। मुझे लगता है कि भगवान ने जिसको दृष्टि दी है वो देखे ना, त्रिशूल मस्जिद के अंदर क्या करता है। हमने तो नहीं रखे ना, ज्योतिर्लिंग हैं, देव प्रतिमाएं हैं, पूरी दीवारें चिल्ला चिल्ला के क्या कह रही है। और मुझे लगता है कि ये प्रस्ताव मुस्लिम समाज की तरफ से आना चाहिए कि साहब ऐतिहासिक गलती हुई है और उस गलती के लिए हम चाहते हैं समाधान।
योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने बहुत ही सच्ची और सही बात कही है, और सही बात कहने के लिए बड़ा जज्बा चाहिए।
जो पूरा खसरा नंबर 9130 है वो हमारे हिंदू मंदिर का परिसर है। ऐतिहासिक गलती हुई है अंजुमन इंतजामिया से तो वो मान लेंगे।
आप मुख्यमंत्री है, कानून को फॉलो करिए। आप कानून को फॉलो नहीं करना चाह रहे, वो मुसलमानों पर प्रेशर डालना चाह रहे, दबाव डालना चाह रहे हैं।
मुसलमानों से कोई गलती नहीं हुई, उसको इन्होंने जबरदस्ती उसको मंदिर कहना शुरू कर दिया।
Let me now open this up to my guests who are joining me this evening. Sharad Trivedi of the Uttar Pradesh BJP is with us on the broadcast. Also with us is AIMIM leader Danish Qureshi, and Deshratam Nigam, who is an advocate and a political analyst, is also with us. And also with us is Shahid Ali, who is the president of United Muslims Front. Now, let me actually begin with you, Mr. Trivedi. The claim that has been made by the Muslim petitioners is that since the matter is sub judice, why did the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister go ahead and speak about it, and that too just claim or probably go ahead and talk to the Muslim petitioners and make it a one-sided claim?
Now, whatever the Chief Minister said has nothing to do with either the court judgment or the court proceedings. What he has said that anybody who can see the basic structure of the place is of a temple, and all the Hindu deities are there. Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Shiv is there, Parvati is there, Nandi is there, Trishul is there, swastik is there, Om is written there. So all these symbols have nothing to do with Islam. It's a totally temple premises, and we have got a confessional statement of the most secular person who was ever born, Aurangzeb himself. He had issued a fatwa in 1669 that all temples and schools of all the heretics or the kafirs have to be destroyed, and all their religious practices have to be crushed. And on 2nd September 1669, the report was brought to his court that the temple has already been destroyed. So it's absolutely clear, and what Yogi ji has said is that the initiative should come from the Muslims. What he has said that this matter should be solved out of court, as Supreme Court itself said in the Ram Mandir issue, that they give about 4 years time for both the parties to sit around, discuss, decide, and amicably the matter should be solved. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mr. Trivedi, you just mentioned the Aurangzeb aspect. Isn't it selective reading of history? While Aurangzeb did go ahead and probably demolish a lot of Hindu structures to build mosques, as is being claimed, through a series of these petitions also, there were also aspects of him building Hindu temples in his regime. What about that?
I am a history student. There is not a single incident in which Aurangzeb had rebuilt a structure at all. This is all fake narrative that has been brought. If any evidence, I have not seen it, and let them come out with it. There's not a single instance in which a temple was reconstructed by him. In fact, 400 soldiers were sent to Ujjain to destroy every temple there. And Amber, which was a friend of the Mughals, they destroyed the temples, 175 temples in Amber. So this has been a
constructed and reconstructed. Don't you think there is a slight difference with the nitpicking that you're doing? But let me actually bring in Mr. Danish Qureshi here. Mr. Qureshi, are you satisfied with the argument that the BJP has made on the statements that have now come by the way of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister speaking about how the Muslim side needs to send out a proposal and just stay back?
I think two things are very clear. Today, we are talking about the spokesperson of BJP is a different thing, and the state chief minister of the state is a different thing. The statement of Mr. Yogi Adityanath is that कि भाई उन्होंने जो शब्दों का प्रयोग किया है कि अगर इस तरीके का मामला होगा तो ये और विवाद बढ़ेगा. This is very problematic. चीफ मिनिस्टर को इस तरीके की भाषा का जो प्रयोग है, जो आप देखिए कि कहीं ना कहीं व्यक्तिगत तौर पे मुझे ये लग रहा है कि क्यों आप ऐसी भाषा का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं. ही इज द चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ द स्टेट ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश एंड जब दो पक्ष जब कानूनी एतबार से लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, ऐसी परिस्थिति में आप कानूनी एतबार से जब पूरा मामला चल रहा है और दोनों पक्षों का रिलीजियस मामला है, देखिए कोई प्रॉपर्टी का रिलेटेड मसला नहीं है कि आपका प्रॉपर्टी ले लिया, मेरा ले लिया, ये रिलीजियस मामला है. ऐसे मौके पे जब मामला कोर्ट के अधीन है, उस वक्त पे अगर मुख्यमंत्री के तौर पर योगी आदित्यनाथ का स्टेटमेंट है तो मुझे लगता है कि ये डेमोक्रेसी के ऊपर इस तरीके का सवालिया निशान लगा रहे हैं योगी आदित्यनाथ जी.
Deshrata Nigam, the argument that also came to light was that the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh is speaking as the Chief Minister of Hindus only and not the Muslim petitioners, because he singled out the Muslim petitioners. And then there was also reference that was made to his 2015 speech where he was not the state Chief Minister, where he has said that if given a choice, he would go ahead and install Gauri and Ganesh images in every mosque. While that has been slightly diluted, why make such a statement at the time when the matter is still being looked at by the courts?
Priya, in fact, nobody can silence the voice of the stones. Even if there is any chief minister who does not want to speak on the subject, the stones will speak for themselves. And the chief minister has only reiterated what is there on the stones. And he is given the fact during Ram Mandir, when the matter was sub judice, both the sides made claims and counterclaims. I was quite involved in it. And therefore, to say that a matter is sub judice, nobody should speak on it, especially even a blind man can see the Hindu symbols and all shivlings and trishul out there. To say that one should not speak about it, no, he clearly said the initiative must come from Muslims to solve this and recognize there is a mistake. This is a kind of a battle between truth and untruth. Somebody do not want the truth to come out. The other side wants the truth to come out, and therefore scientific survey. And why should you have an objection to a scientific survey which is believable? And therefore, in fact, I would say Hindus have climbed down. Despite so many symbols and even a blind man can look into it, they're still saying, let us have a scientific survey and to establish all the points. Therefore, today, and under the Islamic law, it is well established today from Islamic records and otherwise also from Hindu and British records that it was a temple destroyed by Aurangzeb. And under the Islam, it is not a mosque. Please understand, clearly says you can't occupy forcibly some place, and that is what the Islamic scholars or your panelists try to hide. It just cannot be a mosque under the Islamic law. You can't grab it. It has to be a valid and legal, possession. That it is not. And demolition of that particular temple is clearly a historical mistake, which the community, especially not the entire community, few who are doing politics or the Intizamiya committee, management committee of the mosque, have to recognize this, that the historical mistake. And see, initially the Hindus were asking for 3 places.
Yeah.
Krishna Janmabhoomi, Kashi and Ram Mandir. And we were not saying anything else. And still, some of the people, their politicians, were hell-bent not to give those places, because it is same as taking away Makkah and Medina from them, from the Muslims. They do not realize how important these places are, especially established when they were taken over. Because I'm quite involved in the Krishna Janmabhoomi also, and was also involved in Ram Janmabhoomi. So I know the historical facts. Even Kashi Vishwanath, there are historical facts. Nobody's denying, but everybody's saying Places of Worship Act. Forgetting that in the Places of Worship Act, an exception itself has been carved out for historical and ancient monuments, which is not covered by Places of Worship Act. There is another act of 1958. So they forget about it. Selective reading of the act is also not permissible, even under the very same act of Places of Worship Act. To determine the nature of the place is not prohibited. Supreme Court has made it very clear. So let us first establish the truth, and then we can sit across the table. Nobody wants the truth to come out, despite the fact it is visible all around.
Okay. Shahid Ali, I'd need you to respond to these claims that have been made by Desh Ratan Nigam. Also, the fact that he talks about Places of Worship Act 1991, which clearly under Section 405 makes a sort of alienation when it is about the historical significance of a place that's been determined, as opposed to the 1947 Independence Day deadline, the cutoff. While we talk about that, we also need to bring to light this important aspect that the first petition against the Gyanvapi Mosque was also filed around the same time when the Places of Worship Act was in fact brought into place, that is 1991. So even that aspect will be going against whether this particular complex, this property comes under that Places of Worship Act or not.
I will go one by one.
Yes.
My learned friend has mentioned about that there is an act, ASI Act, and therefore invoking Section 4, this Places of Worship Act is not applicable into this. I request my learned friend and you people as well to read Section 16 of ASI Act 1958, which specifically says that the character of mosque or any religious place will not be changed. This is clearly mentioned that even if a property is taken over by ASI and that is basically a mosque or any other ibadatgah or a dargah, that character will not be changed. In the ASI Act 1958, this was mentioned. And particularly for these kind of mosques and these kind of things, then in 1991 another act had come. Out of the Babri Masjid was kept out of purview of that. When Babri Masjid was decided by Honorable Supreme Court, this act was also dealt with by Honorable Supreme Court, and Honorable Supreme Court has held that act as constitutional. That act still is in force. Once that act is in force, matter is subject for the Honorable Court. On 3rd, the statement that the verdict is about to come, and the constitutional post holder, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, is making a statement, and that statement is absolutely in terms of threat. कि साहब विवाद हो जाएगा अगर आप उसको मस्जिद कहोगे तो. So that is an interference that they are trying not only to browbeat the Muslim, the minority community of India, but also judiciary as well. This is absolutely bizarre. In what kind of democracy we are? So, to whom they are threatening? This should not be in a democracy, in a country which is. देखिए, when जब Babri Masjid this verdict had come, any of the Muslims of India raised any question whether we like the verdict or not, but no one disputed. No one came forward to attack that verdict. So we still believe on the court procedure, on the law. Matter is subjudiced. Why these people are creating this kind of nuisance, this kind of this pressure? These are nothing but pressure mounting tactics.
Okay.
Interference everywhere. They are passing the judgment that yes, there is the Trishul, there is.
Desh Ratan Nigam, and then I'll go to Mr. Trivedi.
Who has passed this order?
All right, he wants to make a point.
Who has decided this? The matter is subjudiced.
See, let me tell you one thing. The AIM Muslim Personal Law Board and the Work Board, despite the Ram Mandir, they have still said disputed the judgment, despite the fact it is not being implemented. Not secondly, one of the important ground which has been taken in the petition by the Intizamiya committee and the Muslim side, that if you allow this survey, there will be upheaval in the society. So who is threatening? Who's threatening the court process? So they are not going on legality. There will be law and order problem, peace and harmony. This is the threat coming from the Intizamiya committee and the Muslims. Secondly, when the two acts, presuming for the sake of argument, there are contradictory provisions in the two acts, then you have to see which one of the becomes a special act and which one becomes a general act. As here, the ancient monumental and historical sites becomes a special act vis-a-vis the ASI Act. Therefore, special acts will always prevail over the general act. This is the law of jurisprudence that we have today. So therefore, let us not get into nitty-gritties, and therefore it is very, very clear we have a court process that will continue. There is no doubt about it. The fact remains the Chief Minister has made a remark on the basis of the screaming voices of the walls and the symbols, which everybody, even Muslims, see day in and day out.
While I take that point that you're making, Deshratan Nigam, that's exactly what is being argued. That what is the point of making a statement right now when all of this is required for the court to decide? Right now, making that statement as being part of that office of the Chief Minister that Yogi Adityanath commands, then it is a constitutional position that he is holding, and then he's making a statement as the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, and that's why these allegations are coming to fore. However, that also needs to be brought into consideration. I'd want Mr. Trivedi to respond to this allegation that's been made by Shahid Ali. When you talk about what the Chief Minister has said, they are also saying that it's a suggestion that this is going to flare up communal tensions if the Chief Minister goes ahead and makes a statement like that. Having said that, this point that Deshratan Nigam was also making, that it was part of the petition by the Muslim side, that if at all their side is not respected or probably heard upon and the stay is not granted, then there is going to be a threat of similar issues that were claimed earlier.
I deeply appreciate the deep respect that my friends have got for the parliament and the judiciary, because earlier in Shabano case, they do not believe the judiciary, the respect went to the parliament. And in CA and RC, the respect went from parliament to judiciary. So it is a very selective appreciation of judiciary and respect to parliament. Now, what Yogi ji has said is something which any ordinary citizen can comment on the judgment of the Supreme Court or the High Court, or they can comment on what is right or what is wrong, what it should be or what it should not be. But here the trouble is the only thing that even against the survey, forget about appreciating whether it is a mosque or a temple. They are against the survey because somewhere in the heart of hearts they know that it is a temple. Because if the reason why they are scared of the survey is that survey में बात सामने आ जाएगी कि सच क्या है, सच्चाई क्या है. We are saying let's have the survey. It could even be a mosque. What is the problem? ये लड़ाई तो मॉस्क और मस्जिद और मंदिर की है. हम तो कह रहे हैं हो सकता है मस्जिद भी हो. आपको सर्वे से क्या डर है? They are scared of survey because the truth is going to come out. Otherwise, why would I be scared of it?
ये जो सर्वे का मामला है, उसके लिए भी तो हाई कोर्ट की दलील का आप इंतजार करिए. ये भी तो क्लेम है ना. August 3rd is when the High Court is going to come up with their verdict on whether or not they are resuming the ASI survey or not. Why not respect the court? Why insist on the survey? Of course, we'll go by the court. That is what is being said.
I accept the court. Even in Afzal Guru's case, people said it was a judicial hanging. It was a judicial murder. So you can comment on the Supreme Court or High Court. We are not
let's not digress from what we are talking about. We cannot compare two cases. In this case, two absolutely different cases to make a point. I don't think that's the argument.
Small comment.
Yes, Mr. Deshratan Nigam. I'll go to Danish after that.
What Yogi ji has said is a kind of a mediation process, irrespective of the court. Let the initiative come from an acceptance. Then, when the truth is established, one can sit across the table and find out via media. This is the short and the crux of what Yogi ji has
absolutely.
said.
But you will agree that in 1998, the High Court only stayed this particular case and it was stayed for 22 years. It was because of a reason. If at all not communal harmony being disrupted, then what else?
See, the first is the truth has to be established. Yogi ji is capable of dealing with law and order and upheaval. We know that.
Okay. All right. I'm really sorry. I'll have to just interrupt the panel because we are now getting some breaking news on the broadcast. And this one's coming in from Haryana's Nuh. As we are given to understand that several people have been injured in violent clashes that took place between two communities. A handful of Hindu leaders along with few journalists are also stuck inside a temple. And the premises of the temple was also attacked by a few people approximately half an hour ago. And since there, these people are stuck there. In fact, my colleague Anand Tiwari is also there, who is live with us from that very troubled location. Anand, सबसे पहले तो क्या जानकारी दे सकते हैं, अभी क्या हो रहा है वहां पे?
देखिए, इस वक्त हम मेवात नूह में मौजूद हैं और ये चौराहा है यहाँ पर की भारी पुलिस डिप्लॉयमेंट की गई है। कई जिलों की फोर्स को है यहाँ पर तैनात किया गया है। पुलिस लगातार जो है वो फ्लैग मार्च यहाँ पर कर रही है। कई गाड़ियों के जो शीशे हैं वो यहाँ पर पुलिस के तोड़े गए हैं और आप देख सकते हैं जगह जगह केवल यहाँ पर आपको पत्थर पड़े नजर आएंगे। ये जो रोड है यहाँ से लगातार स्थानीय लोगों ने, जो शरारती तत्व हैं, उन्होंने पुलिस पार्टी के ऊपर फायरिंग की और पुलिस ने उन्हें यहाँ पे खदेड़ा है। एक अफवाह फैलाई गई कि मोनू मानेसर यहाँ पर शोभा यात्रा मौजूद है, जुनैद हत्याकांड का जो आरोपी था, और उसके बाद जो स्थानीय लोग हैं वो उग्र हुए। एक आगे जाके, इस रोड के आगे जाके एक मंदिर है, वहां पर कुछ स्थानीय लोग जो हैं, कुछ हिंदू नेता हैं, कुछ मीडिया पर्सन हैं, वो वहां पर फंसे हुए हैं क्योंकि वहां पर एक खबरें आ रही थी कि वहां पर पहाड़ी के रास्ते से फायरिंग हो रही है, तो उन्हें रेस्क्यू कराने के लिए वहां पर भारी पुलिस फोर्स जो है वो पहुंची हुई है। ये रोड जो है आप देख सकते हैं, ये भी रिहायशी इलाका है और यहाँ भी बीच बीच में रह रहकर कुछ देर पहले तक, करीबन घंटा भर पहले यहाँ पर जमकर जो है पत्थरबाजी लोगों ने की है और पुलिस ने उन्हें यहाँ पर खदेड़ा है। यहाँ पर फायरिंग भी हुई है। करीबन 3 पुलिस कर्मियों को गोली लगने और चोट लगने की जो जानकारी है वो भी सामने आ रही है। हालांकि ऑफिशियली स्टेटमेंट अब तक हरियाणा पुलिस का कोई नहीं आया है कि कितने लोगों को चोट लगी है, कितने लोग घायल हुए हैं, कितनी पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट जो है और जो सरकारी वाहन है उन्हें नुकसान पहुंचाया गया है।
जी आनंद, मैं ये भी जानना चाहूंगी आपसे कि ये पूरा मामला मोनू मानेसर के इस वीएचपी रैली में होने की अफवाह से शुरू हुआ था, जिसकी वजह से ये सारा 2 कम्युनिटी के बीच में क्लैशेस हुए हैं। अब मोनू मानेसर जो वांटेड है काउ विजिलेंटिज्म के एक केस में, वो अभी फरार हैं, उनके बारे में क्या जानकारी है और अभी जो स्थिति है, पुलिस वहां पहुंची है या नहीं पहुंची है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की क्या जानकारी आप दे सकते हैं? क्योंकि आपके पीछे जो सीन्स हमें दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं वहां पे हम देख सकते हैं कि कुछ पुलिस वाहन तो हैं, कुछ पुलिस कंटिंजेंट वहां पे मौजूद है अभी।
देखिए, बिल्कुल आला पुलिस बल जो है, भारी पुलिस बल जो है वो इलाके में तैनात किया गया है और यहाँ पर देखिए लगातार पुलिस की ब्रीफिंग जो है वो भी सीनियर लीडर्स, यहाँ पर सीनियर अधिकारी जो है पुलिस के, वो यहाँ पर कर रहे हैं। और चूंकि रात होने वाली है तो स्थिति तनावपूर्ण ना हो और लोग एक बार फिर से घरों से ना निकलें, उस सिचुएशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए इंटरनेट सेवा भी पूरी तरह से बंद कर दी गई है। धारा 144 लगाई गई है इस पूरे इलाके में और कई आसपास के जिलों की फोर्स को जो है वो नूह मेवात बुलाया गया है। पुलिस ने कहा है कि जो भी अगर कानून हाथ में लेगा तो उससे सख्ती से निपटा जाएगा। जिस मंदिर में कुछ लोग फंसे हुए हैं, कुछ मीडिया पर्सन, वहां पर भी भारी पुलिस फोर्स तैनात की गई है और वो सिचुएशन को हैंडल करने की कोशिश करेगी कि पब्लिक थोड़ा शांत हो तो उन्हें वहां से रेस्क्यू कराकर और सुरक्षित स्थान तक पहुंचाया जाए। देखिए, यही रोड है जिससे कि तमाम पुलिस अधिकारी यहां पर पहुंच रहे हैं। मीडिया पर्सन भी इसी रोड से आए। आगे जाके नेशनल हाईवे है जो जयपुर अजमेर जा रहा है। हालांकि वहां पर भी कुछ लोगों ने, शरारती तत्वों ने उत्पात मचाने की कोशिश की थी, लेकिन पुलिस ने उन्हें वहां से खदेड़ा है। तो अभी यहां पर देखिए ये चौराहा जो काफी महत्वपूर्ण है क्योंकि यहां से 4 रास्ते जाते हैं और तमाम सभी पे जो है वो पूरे रिहायशी कॉलोनियां हैं, रिहायशी घर हैं, तो लोग अपने घरों से ना निकले, इसलिए पुलिस यहां पर जो है वो चप्पे चप्पे पे तैनात है। लाउड स्पीकर से पुलिस लगातार यहां पर जो है वो लोगों से अपील कर रही है पीस बनाने की और जो स्थानीय विधायक हैं, स्थानीय नेता हैं, वो भी यहां पर पहुंचे हुए थे। 8:30 बजे जो कमिश्नर हैं उन्होंने दोनों समुदाय के जो बुद्धिजीवी लोग हैं उन्हें बुलाया है ताकि की जो अमन कमेटी होती है वो शांति व्यवस्था बनाए रखने के लिए लोगों से अपील करे। और तो ये तमाम चीजें जो है ये ग्राउंड जीरो से हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं। अभी हालांकि पत्थरबाजी रुकी हुई है काफी देर से और पुलिस की कोशिश है कि अब फिर से पत्थरबाजी या जो फायरिंग लोग कर रहे थे रह रहे के अपने घरों से छुप के, वो पुलिस पार्टी के ऊपर ना करें।
जी आनंद तिवारी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर apprising us of the situation that currently is standing in Haryana's Nuh as 2 communities have clashed with one another. Well, that's it from me on Viewpoint. My colleague Toya is up next with Plain Speak. Stay tuned for that.